bulk trash and its frequency. According to this contract, how often will bulk trash be picked up?
Bulk trash will remain the same that we're experiencing right now.
Once per week?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's good.
The size of the pile, how do we address that in this new contract?
Well, we've had conversations. We met with Waste Pro this week, and those are going to be the town hall meetings, the mailers that we're sending out. We're going to
No,
be doing
that's
First
tape
off,
measures.
contract.
my head wants to pop off of its. I want to be Frankenstein and go.
I
'Cause
understand.
Stop with this talking about mailing of entities.
And we're also discussed having at all of our community events for now a section that says Waste Pro. This is what 8 cubic yards looks like
That's not
with
what
boxes
it-
piled up.
That's not what.
So
our
we are
question.
gonna-
Can
going to-
we renegotiate the size?
Right. In
That's
other
what
words,
he's
the
asking.
question.
Yeah.
the size of the pile needs to be irrelevant. When we had when we provided as the city the garbage pickup, there was never a debate. If you put one item out, we picked it up. If you put 20,000 items out, we picked it up. What's happening now is that Waste Pro is judging the size of
Eight-
something
eight-
or the material
8
that's in
cubic
it,
yard.
and then they're leaving it there, which causes people to call their councilman and say, Waste Pro didn't pick up my stuff today. And then they ended up getting a fine from Waste Pro that we're not picking up your pile until you make it small. So my neighbors, what they do is they just put part of their pile over here, part of their pile over here, part of their pile over here. But it's absolutely silly. If Waste Pro's going to pick up bulk, pick up bulk. Don't nickel and dime us over 8 foot, 6 foot. Just pick this stupid trash up. I'm being very opinionated.
No problem.
The position of a Waste Pro, I don't know what you want to call the person's position because I don't want to name the person.
Contract compliance.
Contract compliance.
Yes, sir.
I still fail to see the need for a contract compliance individual simply because we're the ones that are getting the calls.
I will.
And I don't want to get into the history
got
behind
you.
that
I
contract
understand.
compliance person, their relationships with other people who used to be on the city council, etc. But that position was created as a favor, in my opinion. I think that position should go away or be fully absorbed by the city of North Miami as opposed to being a Waste Pro paid position. Because, by the way, that position also was allowed to sit on the committee, although what was the use of the committee? There was only one applicant to rate these individuals. So
Let me.
he or she was sitting in judgment
understand.
of his or her boss.
I understand. What I will say is the contract compliance is the reason that you stopped getting so many calls.
I've never stopped getting so many
Well-
calls. That's what I don't get from you guys.
We've experienced less calls and complaints when we put the contract compliance back. It was there at the beginning of the contract. We didn't receive as many complaints. We had a short, I believe it's approximately a 2-year period where the previous administration thought that there was no need for the position, moved the position. Now when Waste Pro goes out, there's somebody that's actually driving the route after Waste Pro's done, and we know before you know that the block wasn't picked up because this person is driving the route. So we know that the block's picked up. We have somebody going out at 6 a.m., one of our other code officers that do monitor and say, hey, this is going to be an issue. There's a pile over here that's over the such and such amount of cubic yards. So we're getting the information as an administration real time that there are problems with the pickups and there are problems. So and not to challenge you on the validity of the position, but I will tell you that the position helps us as administration because I get the call from the contract compliance person to say, hey, Waste Pro missed a block. I've already reported to them. They're going to go back and pick it up in case you get any calls.
so why wouldn't we just pay that person ourselves?
Because Waste Pro's picking it up and they shouldn't be making mistakes. So they need to pay for the position for somebody to monitor the position,
But don't you
to
see
monitor
how-
the pickups.
Don't you see then how that puts that person at in a very difficult position that the person who's paying their salary is whom they have to complain against?
Well,
Isn't that
ultimately, the
person on our
person,
payroll?
the,
They're
the
half and
person
half.
actually still gets paid from the city of North Miami.
It's half and half.
Well, no, their check comes from us signing off on their timesheet. Waste Pro reimburses us on the revenue side. So it's not he's going pick up a check for Waste Pro. No, we're getting paid out of our payroll. He reports to actually the manager and myself. He's housed in the code enforcement department. But this has eliminated a lot of our problems administratively.
Okay, so he's not
But
paid
not your
directly by
problem.
the-
I understand it's not a
So I'm gonna let that part
All right.
go because
Thank
that's
you.
a staff decision.
Yes, sir.
That's your all's decision to make. I've always been uncomfortable with it,
I
but there are a
understand.
lot of provisions of this new contract that I am incredibly uncomfortable with. Its length, its weak benefits that it gives to the city, the fact that they'd still run around fining our residents for size of their piles. Like, there are a lot of issues here. Track EZ.
I understand.
Hey, quick
I
question.
agree with the councilman that we should punt this until the councilman DeSume is back.
Okay.
And we will actually review and discuss some of your concerns that you had this evening. We will discuss them with
And
Waste Pro
there's an
before we come
important
back.
point that Councilman Galvin just made. Because they have the privilege of having the commercial by themselves, I think we should be able to renegotiate the rate from 21 to 27 so the city can save some money out of that 800,000 that we subsidize for the
All
right.
residents.
Let me say, Councilman, the rate that Waste Pro came back with in the bid, the RFP that was out, was $29.89. We've already negotiated back down, preliminary
27.
negotiation down to 27.
Understand.
Okay.
Understand that by approving this contract is another 5 years on the commercial side. That's when we should continue to negotiate so we can bring that number down so we can save some money.
All right.
So, Mayor, we have a
So,
motion made by.
I haven't talked yet.
Okay.
You know, I've always questioned the idea of having a bid and only one person or one company actually respond to the bid. So there are so many other companies that could be considered, and it's no secret that I've always voiced my discontent with Waste Pro. I don't like Waste Pro, and I will never like that company. I will never vote for any contract because I truly believe that if you take a pig and you give him a bath and you put lipstick on it, it's still a pig. So there are so many things that I've never been happy with. And if you look at the original contract, there is a clause. I mean, it's black. It's black on white that says that Waste Pro was supposed to lease a land that was part of the deal, that was part of the contract, and pay the city $5,000 a month for 5 years. So that's $300,000 that Waste Pro owes to the city. I brought this up a couple of months ago. I don't know, for some reason, people just keep wishing that I will forget. I will not forget. If the city if they choose to be complacent about it and don't want to recover that money from Waste Pro, I am going to sue as a private citizen. Okay?
Yes,
So
sir.
I am going to sue. If the city decides they don't want to recover that money, that $300,000 that Waste Pro owes us. Okay, that was part of the contract. And you were talking about the contract compliance. That contract compliance person, I don't know at that point of time whether we did have a contract compliance person, in place. So these are all the things that as a city we're talking about. Of course, I gave kudos to you guys earlier with the OpenGov, a program that we come up with. But this is a very big contract, and I'm asking myself, have we done the due diligence really to consider? With regards, to best practice. We have to consider the best practice due diligence that we have to do whenever we're doing these, whenever we're offering these awards, whenever we are awarding these contracts. So have we all of a sudden forgotten every single meeting when residents come to this mic and I have not forgotten the time that residents call me 9 o'clock on 15th Avenue, 12th Avenue Northwest, 131st Street, 120 something street, their garbage not being picked up. So then all of a sudden we forget about all of these, and then Westport is now the prince that's going to bring salvation to not Miami. I will not forget. This contract, this relationship is a product of a poisoned and forbidden tree. This is a nightmare that I will never. I mean, I hope that you guys never come up with this item until I leave this dais. I hope you never come up with it. I'm leaving in 6 months, and I will never vote for Westport to continue to be our sanitation company until these matters are resolved. It was supposed to be $5,000 a month for 5 years.
Mr. Mayor, if
I'm not asking you for a response. I'm just making my point. That's it.
So, Mayor, we do have a motion. So the motion was made by Councilman Biedemann to continue this item. That motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. How do you all vote on do I have a motion to, I'm sorry, do I have the motions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passed with a 4-0 vote. This item has been continued. Tab J. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the city manager to approve work order number 6, amending a professional design and construction management agreement between the city of North Miami and Hazen and Sawyer PC to provide design, permitting, bidding, and construction administration services for improvements to the city's Winston water treatment plant with an estimated time for performance of 37 months at a cost not to exceed $2,943,600 in accordance with the terms, conditions, and specifications contained in request for qualifications number 03-07-08, upgrades to current water treatment plant, and the design and construction management of a new membrane water treatment facility, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Once again, for the record, Alberto Estrada, Purchasing Director. Mr. Mayor, council members, the item that you have before you under tab J is staff's request for your approval of an amendment to the existing agreement with the engineering firm of Hazen and Sawyer to provide engineering construction administration services for the final phases of the comprehensive improvement project for the city's water treatment plant. This item was also previously submitted by staff and tabled by council, pending staff's presentation of an overview of the entire rehabilitation project at the water treatment plant. This presentation was conducted by our Public Works Director, Mr. Wissa Pierre-Louis, during our last council meeting. We now come before you once again to request your approval of the proposed amendment. As detailed in the council report, which has been submitted in support of this item, Hazen and Sawyer was previously commissioned by the city as the engineer of record for this project. During the initial phases of this project, Hazen and Sawyer has performed various engineering consulting services for the initial phases of this multi-phase project. The final phases of the entire project shall be incorporated and carried out under the proposed amendment that you have before you. The scope of services to be performed by Hazen and Sawyer include, but are not limited to, engineering design updates, permitting, preparation of bid packages, bidding and award services, construction administration throughout the execution of the work, and submittal of state revolving fund reports on behalf of the city. As reflected on the second page of the council report, each one of the major tasks to be performed under this work order is broken out and itemized based on a total estimated duration of 37 months for completion of the entire project and a not to exceed fee of $2,943,600. In addition, Hazen and Sawyer has also agreed to work with staff in the development and implementation of a community outreach plan for this project. With me here tonight in support of the item is Mr. Pierre-Louis, the Public Works Director, and Ms. Patricia Carney, Vice President of Hazen and Sawyer, in the event that you have any questions regarding the project itself. This concludes my presentation, and I'll be glad to take any questions which you may have.
again, through the mayor. This was on the agenda before. We have had discussions with Hazen and Sawyer and are working on a community outreach plan for them to educate the community over this 37-month period on what's going on with the project and moving forward with the city's water plant.
All right, the item is open to the public at this time.
Jim Garrett, 11610 North Bay Shore Drive. I will encourage this council to approve this. This is a cash cow. I was involved with Gwen Graham's campaign for governor, and Gwen had one statement: water is life. We need to protect our water plant. We need to not privatize it. And we need to do everything that the city manager, the public works director, or anybody else who's associated with that plant recommends. Because that plant provides most of the money for this city to operate. And we need to look at, if we're going to do a bond issue, we need to look at water and sewer and replace the 90-year-old pipes inside this city and the 50-year-old pipes with the sewer system.
William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I wholly agree with citizen Jim Garrett to take his words very seriously that this is important to the city. Just regarding differently the amount of this contract, which is nearly $3 million, this project is somewhat manila in the sense that we have a tank or two, we have an administration building, we have some equipment. There it is, and it's operating, and we're just going to simply, for the most part, relocate the tanks, some of the equipment. There's calling for taking down the administration building, relocating the staff and the operations as they rebuild on the same site. As I've said on many times in the past, since we've allocated space for 3 tanks across from where they are now, and one is just a future tank, why don't we go ahead and use that extra footprint for the administration building? It wouldn't require relocating. It consolidates the 2 tanks and the administration building in one composition. I understand that there would still be maybe some pumping equipment left on the, let's call it a diamond, the square that is shifted. But it's a step in the right direction to restoring that park and making it more amenable to the people of that particular neighborhood. It's an upgrade to that neighborhood if we don't have everything sprawled out. Next thing, it's all too common for cities, particularly ours, to treat utility buildings like they just don't matter. Let's just go pick it off the shelf at some store, let's throw it in. That's not the way it should be or the way it can be. And in cities such as Columbus, Indiana, where some of their utility buildings are better than anything we have in our city, any private building we have in our city, there are incredible structures there that are for water and for telephone and the rest. We could have something a little bit better in this location. And with that kind of money, with $3 million, I urge you to please have them up the ante on the design of this and the composition and possibly make it public for review.
Thank you.
This can be something the city could be proud of. Thank you.
Public hearing is still open, but I see none, hear none. Public hearing is now closed. Members of the council, any comments?
We had postponed this because we were, I think it was Councilman DeSulmi was not happy with the outreach on the progress. Has that all been resolved?
Yes, we've resolved that with Hazen and Sawyer. We're working on the outreach plan now, and we'll have it in place before the contract is implemented.
Okay. Thank you.
Move approval.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab J. The motion was seconded by Councilman Bieneme. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passed with a 4-0 vote.
Thank you.
Tab K, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, adopting guidelines and standards of professionalism for city advertisement, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you recall, all city advertising services have been halting following the city's, we discovered that there were on some comments that were disgraceful to the community, that were held during the city's airing during one of our city paid advertisements. And so at that time, the city resolved to halt all city paid advertisements. What we have proposed with you tonight is a resolution that you and the mayor and council will adopt that will incorporate into any future advertisements specific guidelines and procedures to be followed by anybody who will be doing business with the city of North Miami. Specifically, that 30 minutes prior to and following city-funded advertisements, the contractor will air objective and neutral content, that they will refrain from any and all references or inferences which may appear to be sponsored by or supported by the city, unless that's something that the city explicitly agreed to in writing, that they'll refrain from any derogatory, offensive, and unwelcome comments or any inferences based on race, gender, national origin, religion, age, disability, political affiliation, marital status, sexual orientation, or any other legally protected status, as well as refrain from any and all comments that may be seen as insulting, disruptive, or harmful, obscene, or hateful, or offensive by other persons. What the city is requesting is that we would reinstate our professional service agreements with our current radio advertisers, but incorporating these guidelines and making them commit to these guidelines in order to do business with the city of North Miami.
All right, the public hearing is open on the item.
Jim Garrett, 11610 North Bayshore Drive. I would recommend the council to approve this. The administration did a good job on this and addressing this issue. I hope we never have this issue again in any upcoming election.
Public hearing is still open, but I see none, hear none. Public hearing is closed.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab K. That motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passed with a 4-0 vote.
3-0.
I'm sorry. 3-0 vote. Thought I heard his voice. We'll record his vote when he gets here. Tab L. Proposed ordinance, second reading of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Article 5, North Miami Police Pension Plan of the City Code by amending 15-119 usage of premium tax revenues, by amending Section 15-121 member contributions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As I said at the first reading, the PBA contract is a negotiated document that drives the rest of the language in the ordinance. The contract supersedes ordinance language, and this is to clean up the ordinance to make it match what we've already agreed to in the PBA contract.
That's it. Public hearing is open on the item. Item L as in Larry. North Miami Police Pension Plan. See none, hear none.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab L. The motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passed with a 3-0 vote. We will record Bien-Aimé's vote when he returns to the dais. Now regarding tab M, my deputy's going to take care of that.
Yeah. Thanks. Go ahead. Oh, you haven't read it yet?
No. I haven't. Thank you.
All right. Tab M, proposed ordinance first reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, providing for text amendments to chapter 29 of the city of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Land Development Regulations by amending Article 7, definitions, providing for repeal, conflicts, severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and for an effective date. Tab M.
Thank you. For the record, Tanya Wilson Sejour with Community Planning and Development. This is a request for a text amendment to the city's land development regulations. The council may recall that last year the city adopted the land development regulations, and since then we've had an iteration of text amendments since the adoption of the LDR. Tonight we're seeking an amendment to Article 7, which contains your definitions within the LDR. There are three main objectives. First of all, to create definitions within the LDRs in places that definitions don't exist. For example, we have breweries that are now permitted within the city, but within Article 7 of the LDRs, there's no definition for breweries or microbreweries or brew pubs. I know tonight at the CRA meeting, there was an item on the agenda regarding a brewery that's seeking to come into the city. So creating this type of definition would make it permissible and would give them an opportunity to be defined within the city's codes. Also clarification on certain uses within the code that don't have specific definitions, like heavy industrial that we currently don't have defined within the code, although it's permitted in certain places throughout the commercial and industrial districts. And just keeping the code up to pace with federal law and state law. Marijuana dispensaries that we know through state law is now permitted, and it's something that has to be created in each city's code. So Article 7 would allow for the creation or establishment of that definition within the city's LDRs, where currently it doesn't exist. If the council would like, I could go through each of the definitions, but I'm giving you like a high-level overview of some of the changes that you can anticipate in Article 7 of the code. Also want to point out in terms of the problematic uses, over the years, and for many years, we've actually had tattoo parlors listed as a problematic use within the zoning code. And we know based on federal law, the First Amendment right, the tattoos themselves are considered freedom of speech. And so our codes had to keep pace with federal law. So that's something that you'll see stricken in Article 7 to allow for tattoo parlors to be in existence within the city's commercial districts. If the council has any specific questions based on the list of definitions we provide in your packet, staff is happy to address that at this time.
We should have gotten the people to.
Yes.
We should have sworn them in first. I guess we can do it now.
Okay. Anyone who wish to speak on this item, please raise your right hand.
Stand up and with
Stand
your
up and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Okay, Mayor, we have 4.
All right, well, before we do that, can you get Mr. Bien-Aimé's votes on those two
Tab
previous items?
K and L.
Do one at a time.
Councilman Bien-Aimé, what do you vote for tab K?
I say yes.
Okay. Tab K passed with a 4-0 vote, and tab L.
Can we go to one?
Tab L is
Okay. Yes.
okay. Thank you. Tab L passes with a 4-0 vote.
And our public hearing is open for item M as in mother. The 4 people who got sworn in, you are welcome to please come and express yourselves.
Hello, my name is Marisol Medina at 1270 Northeast 124th. I was part of the CRA meetings when they were talking about making these changes. I think it's a great idea to define a lot of things that were undefined. So I vote to yes. Thank you guys.
Jim Garrett, 11610 North Bay Shore Drive. The whole ordeal, I think, Tanya, you did a very good job. I know, because you cleaned up a lot of messes. Okay? I think the brewery pub thing is great. It brings economic growth to this city. We have to face the marijuana dispensary. Either we have it or we don't, you know? Tattoos, she's right, it's a cover under the First Amendment. I don't like tattoo parlors, but it's covered, okay? You have to accept some of the bad with the good, okay? My only concern is with LDRs, we have these little special exceptions, like the 1880 part of, issue that we have. And my question is this, when we were going through the NDR process, why didn't we incorporate? We're making store exceptions to the thing. We have 2 TOD districts we've designated. And we need to concentrate our growth around that because Tri-Rail is going to come here on 123rd Street and 151st Street. It's going to come here. I travel the Boulevard every day, and I can tell you it takes me 40 minutes to get up to Ives Dairy Road to get on I-95 to go where I need to go, either Plantation or where I'm going up in North Palm Beach County now every day. So we need to have some vision in this city, and I think I compliment her on the process. I went through the meetings here. I see how much hard work she's done. So I urge this council to approve this.
Well, I thought there were 3 more. No? Public hearing is closed.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve tab M. That motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Key. We're gonna go on a vote. Councilman Bien-Aimé, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Yes.
Item passes 4-0.
Okay, next item is
Citizen Forum.
Citizen Forum is now open. Reasonable opportunity to be heard. It's pretty much what it is. 2 minutes per person.
Jim Garrett, 11610 North Bay Shore Drive. First of all, Dirk Shore, good job tonight on the application. That application's been around since 2001 in higher education. So we're about 18 years late. Okay? We used it at Purdue University when I got there. So I know about technology, Scott. I had this one system that blew up on me at Purdue and everything on financial aid. Let's talk about promises to the city of North Miami, especially with the May 14, 2018 city elections are coming up on the horizon. We were promised at 2 council meetings on September 25th, 2018 and October 8, 2018 that we will have an RFP for an independent audit on a budget process. If I was accused of anything, I would welcome someone to come in and clear me. I've been accused once in my life of being a racist up in Chicago at Westwood College. I removed myself for a week as the director of corporate finance for the Chicago schools. And corporate sent an independent attorney from Houston and questioned all my staff. The person that made the acquisition took $45,000 from Westwood College on student payment plans. I think an audit we need this. There's too many questions going on in this city. However, we continue to spend our taxpayer money like crazy and hurting our city service and our local business community. For example, the FIU Brewfest took away vital parking from 3 local businesses, Billy Pub, Cafe Creme, and No Me Cafe, as a Saturday night business suffer because we didn't finish construction with Mocha Plaza on time once again. By the way, we have given away $300,000 of taxpayer money to a wonderful trusted partner, FIU, in 2 years out of 5-year one-sided agreement between the city and FIU, and the cost of $750,000.
Good evening, William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. Not too much to add tonight, but I did want to take the time to just think or reflect over our last so many months or last couple years. And if I may, from my perspective, share that I think things have really been on a very promising track with our city. I think things are being handled much better than some examples in the past. I think it's been more cooperative. I think we have a more progressive bent to getting things done. I think there's more of a chance of a future for this city than there had been a few years back. And I'd like to extend my appreciation. I hope that continues. I hope we go towards a little bit more mixed use so that we have less cars on the street. I hope that we go a little bit more towards having a little bit greater heights so that we can have greater luxury, so that'll bring additional revenue. I hope that we look for additional park space throughout our city, which hasn't been added to in quite some time. But again, I'd like to take the time to thank you for all this positive ground that's been we're gaining. I'm very optimistic about the future, and happy Thanksgiving to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Citizen forum is still open. See none, hear none. Citizen forum is therefore closed. Reports from anyone?
Mayor Joseph has
Hold
a.
on. You don't have anything?
Report. He's doing your report.
Reports.
What you have?
You don't have anything?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
And my first one is the charter board. And how do we call the board, Mrs. Attorney? We call for the charter board. Do we have quorum right now? How many people have been appointed?
We don't have a quorum right now for the charter board, so we would do, we would need everybody to make
How
appointments.
many do we
to the
have right
board.
now? Do you have an idea? And deputy city clerk? No?
No, I don't.
Mike,
sir.
do you have an idea of how many people we have right now on the charter board? Do we have quorum?
Currently listed on the website, you have 2, 3, 4, 5 members and 3 vacancies.
Okay. How do we call the charter board?
We have to
be in
appoint.
session?
We have 5 what's the maximum we're supposed to have?
We have 5. out
We
of
currently
five.
have quorum.
If it's 5 of 8, we have a quorum.
But how many vacancies do we have?
You have currently 3 vacancies. One of them is an appointee of Councilman Galvin. One of them is an at-large spot, and one other vacancy to be filled by Vice Mayor Carol Keys.
Who's my appointee?
No, we have 1 open.
Mayor Joseph, you have 2. One is Kenneth Each, and one is Michael McDermott.
I'm talking about vacancy. We have 3 vacancies? 3? No, we have.
Councilman, is there a reason you're asking about the charter board? Is there some charter amendment that you're looking to bring
But
forward?
I've been talking to some members of the charter board. We would like to entertain some discussion about some issue. If there's anything that need to be clear or fixed in our charter, and that's up to the board. I don't think that's up to us. First of all, I would like to bring that city clerk situation, for example, and are we gonna have an appointed position, or we're gonna have an election when it comes to the city clerk? And that's one item, and maybe the board will work on other things based on the will of the citizens. I just call it, I don't know.
I will set up a meeting and call a meeting for the charter board, sir, if that's what you're requesting us to do, you directed us to do.
If we're gonna get it moving, then I'd like to make an appointee. I just know we haven't done anything for the last few years, so I haven't made an appointment.
Well, I'll send out and I'll reach out to everyone to see if there's any, well, I know Councilman Galvin. Councilman Galvin, Vice Mayor Keys, and then there's one at-large appointee. So I will reach out to everyone this week to see.
Or do you
if we
wanna
have
make it
somebody.
tonight?
No. I didn't know you were gonna bring it up, so I'll have to find somebody. I think Jim Tracton was my old charter
Yes.
board appointee, and he's
Yes.
passed away. That's why I have an opening, because I was surprised to hear I had an opening. Now I just processed it.
I'll reach out to everyone tomorrow, sir, and then I'll get it, and then I'll schedule a meeting. I'll reach out to the members and see
It's only fair though that if we get 2 weeks to appoint somebody, because if you
Yeah, no,
call-
we're gonna wait the 2
Yeah,
weeks. for
yeah,
the-
you
Yeah,
got
we're gonna
to.
wait.
And then we'll set it up. That's fine.
Okay. Do we have to
Madam-
vote or no?
Madam Attorney,
No? Okay.
do you have any report?
No reports this evening.
No report, sir.
Motion to adjourn?
I have
So-
a report. Sorry.
Oh, you do? Oh,
Yes.
so-
Mayor Joseph would like to appoint Emmanuel Gentil to the
Oh.
Board of Adjustment.
So second the emotion.
Motion. Okay. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay.
Scott,
Scott.
Oh, you said-
Well, that's my motion, I
you
guess.
said
He
that's the mayor
seconded.
and Scott
Okay.
second.
Sorry. I have a motion made by Mayor Joseph to appoint Emmanuel Gentil to the Board of Adjustment. That motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right.
you.
Good night, everyone.